How you doing, guys? Everything's a little bit different. So usually the computer's this way and I'm facing, so that part's the same. But now when I turn to the left, this is the left. I see the computer, the keyboard. Why does this matter? Why is this a good thing? It's because I now have more space here, which is not the green stuff, but places to put, a place to put rules, etc. Signs of Life, Pink Floyd, Momentary Lapse of Reason, one of my favorite albums. Let's see if I can get this video banned for copyright reasons. A couple other Pink Floyd albums I like as well, even the later stuff. Division Bell's really good. And then there's all the old stuff. But there's some recent good stuff by that band. Anyway, yeah, so I feel like I'm at Command Central here. Keyboard. I could probably just show you. Maybe I'll show you at the end of the video. Camera is placed just so. But why am I bothering you? Bothering you because I've been thinking about, go figure, thinking about 28 mil bases and more importantly, or alternately, movement trays. So how to put them in a tray and move them around, and there's a number of things I found online that I could look into, things that I can make, things that I could order, some really cool stuff out there. It's a minor issue, but it's something that interests me. Because you have, well, I have typically something like this, and when you have, say, half a dozen of these to move around, that can be, I don't want to say cumbersome, but it gets a little tedious to keep everything uniform as you're moving it. So as much stuff as I have, I thought there's got to be something in this house, in a box that I have that I'm overlooking, that is so commonplace it's not standing out, which is interesting as well, because that ties back into something that I like to consider when something is in fact so everyday, so commonplace, it almost becomes invisible. You don't see it until something happens, a situation arises that forces you to look at something in a manner that is different from which you would typically look at the thing. Here's a bad example. You probably don't think much of a bike when you look at one, or as you ride it, you've seen a bike 1,000 times. But when you see a bike that's been hit by a car, it's all twisted metal, all of a sudden you're seeing the bike for the first time, that type of thing. Anyway, I'm looking around, and lo and behold, I found something. So what I have is, for those of you that follow me or pay attention and or care, I have a ton of the little Risk figures that I use for Napoleonic stuff. I've got them based. I've been itching to maybe get those out again and throw them on the table. But here's the deal. When you order, and that's just how I've accumulated so many of these Risk figures, they come in the little plastic tins, right? These guys. So just on a whim, I look at this and I think, there's something here. Now, obviously not this part, too deep. But if you look at this part, it's a tray, right? If you turn it upside down, and I put a stand in it, and it fit. It couldn't have fit more perfect. I mean, it's like it was meant to be. And let me just bring you down. I don't know why I'm so excited about this stupid thing. But that's what it'll allow me to accomplish. So this is all my British infantry, more or less. And as you can see, they fit in these things. Now, yes, I know I still need to finish the bases on these guys. But I mean, honestly, they couldn't fit any better. So that's what I've done. And then, for a column, you just move it and boom, you're there. Preferably on camera, you get the idea. And then just move it back. for line. It's a stupid, minor, trivial little thing, but I was so excited to find that these damn trays work for this, and I have a ton of these things. I'm not going to have a shortage of them. Now, this isn't going to work for cavalry, this isn't going to work for artillery, but I don't need them for that because there are very few amount of bases that you have to fiddle with when it comes to that stuff. But for the infantry, there's, as you can see, these. Now, also, I've cut down from what is typically, I think, 24 infantry figures in a unit in black powder, if that's the route you're going. I've cut it down to 20, and I can live with that. That's just fine with me. But man, this is so cool that I've figured this out. Now I can obviously I could paint these if I wanted. I don't care that it says risk on it. You don't see it when there's figures on the thing. And then the other thing you might add, I don't know if you can see real well or not, but you might say, hey, yeah, they fit kind of perfectly. What about this gap in here? And each tray is going to have that because that's just how it works out in the rub. See that little gap in there? And you think, aha, Jason, I got you. You can't say they fit perfectly. Well, I considered that. And considered that they fit near perfectly, but no, I retract that. They fit perfectly. Here's why. Because these little gaps allow for information. So to borrow something from this black powder Civil War deal I got going on, let's say, for instance, you have something similar to this. You want to know what unit this is? You just put it right in there in the tray. Oh my God, that's brilliant. It's brilliant, it's beautiful, it's awesome. So just minor tweaking and I can have something that will fit perfectly in there. I have another options I can use in that respect. This is where I'm at these days. This is what gets me going. The fact that I accidentally discovered trays for these guys and put them in there is probably going to fuel me for the rest of the day, if not the weekend. I know I'm a nut, but that's how I am. And they look great. I mean, I may just keep them clear acrylic plastic like that. Couldn't be happier that I discovered that. Don't have to make anything, don't have to buy anything. I've got a ton of these laying around, like I said. Another, for instance, would be your 95th rifles. Now, if you use the little, this is Warlord bases, right? So if you use the little stands here, they fit in there as well. So there you go. You can just move that tray around. You don't have to embarrass yourself when you're at tournaments. Filling with all these guys, that's an exaggeration, but extremely thoroughly happy with that discovery. Let's put this back. What else do I have? I played another turn of this, for those of you that don't know, or for those of you that do know, that's still set up, so you could potentially see more of that. I played, as I said, another turn of that, and I kind of ironed out a minor wrinkle in that shit pull system I was using. So where you pull a chit to see which unit on which side moves. You don't want to just see my chin, I don't presume. I now have, thanks to Eric Lee Smith, who is one of my favorite game designers of all time. If I had to pick two game designers that I had to like crash onto a beach and do a desert island type thing, you can only take two game designers with you. Assuming there's enough food that I don't have to eat them, I would take Eric Lee Smith and John Hill. Well, obviously John Hill has since passed, but it's theoretical to begin with. So, but I took some inspiration from this. This is Eric Lee Smith's game that I play tested back in the day. And his shit pull system has this combat shit that goes in the cup, one for each side. And I won't go into details of how it works in here, but it works similarly. What is that? I don't know what that is. Okay, it works similarly with what I'm doing. So now when I pull a chit from the cup, it'll be either Union or Confederate, and it could be a combat chit, either Union or Confederate. So then I run through, for whoever it is, I'll run through the shooting phase and then the melee phase. And then you'll have another combat chit that will potentially be drawn at some point for the other side. Same deal, shooting melee phase. And then I'm running, I think for now, brake tests at the very end after all the chits are pulled. And it's working out just splendidly. And I couldn't be happier with that either. I'll also add that I guess I'm just happy right now. I mean, that the stuff that I have on the table here, Civil War-wise, is beautiful. It's inspiring. I even have some, did I show you guys this? I don't think I have. I have some dismounted, let's see, cavalry. And I don't know if I'll keep it like this, but this is what I got for now. So, I mean, for Civil War, right, the cavalry was used more for just getting where you need to go and then dismounting and firing. So I may put a few more infantry on there and put more in a kind of a quasi line formation. Sneeze. And but that's exciting. So I got dismounted cavalry. I also have I think I already told you this, but I have some Iron Brigade in there I need to paint up in base, which will be cool because they actually have, again, it's a small thing, but the Iron Brigade that you can get for this epic battles thing, they actually have bayonets mounted, fixed on the rifles, the muskets, and none of the other guys do, which is odd, but that's how it is. So those will look cool. And I've got a ton of other boxes and more boxes of cavalry that showed up. So when we go through these black powder scenarios, if and when I ever get tired of this particular scenario, Wilson's Creek, there are other scenarios I'm going to try out, and they'll use more units, more cavalry. I don't know that more is necessarily better, but it'll allow me to field some things that I'm anxious to get out there. I'm also considering using, since you've got, call me crazy, but they just look so good scale-wise on the table. Don't get me wrong, I love my 28mm Napoleonic stuff, but that scratches a different itch. For that grand tactical style massed unit type thing, you can't beat this epic battle stuff. And I'm tossing around the idea of using, because they're blue and they're gray, right? So what does that mean? Well, that means French and Prussians. So I could potentially use them as stunt doubles, these Civil War dudes, for Napoleonic stuff. I know heresy, blah, 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 whatever. But if and until Warlord decides they're going to do an epic battles Napoleonic stuff, that's really my only choice. And you say, no, wait, that's not true. Well, it is true, because I understand there are other things out there, this scale, Napoleonic-wise, that you can get. I got to draw the line somewhere. I've been buying stuff. I bought all this Civil War epic battle stuff. I've been doing the 20. I can't do everything. I can't get a scale and a nationality and an era for every thing. So I've been tossing around the idea of doing that, using the Union and the Confederates for French and Prussians. The table works out exactly the hex-wise to epic battles scale size. So there's that, and that reminds me there is one other thing I'll mention, because I've added on to this table here. I'll show you again briefly what we're looking at, but I mean, come on, I wake up in the morning, I go to work, but I pass by this thing, and it just, I don't care how my day is going or will go, that just sets the scene. It's just beautiful to me. So I don't know, I guess I'm nuts. But I was going through my games, because what you have here, really, let's be honest with each other, is a glorious giant board game map. I mean, there's hexes that jives with board games. So I was going through the stuff trying to decide what this meshes with, and lo and behold, the size of this table, if I shave one hex row around the entire perimeter, that's it. It fits perfectly with these maps. So we may be seeing this again at some point with some armor. Maybe it's time I bust out that 15mm Flames of War stuff and translate it into fighting formations. This thing has yet to see a big armored AFE tank battle, so that could be coming at some point as well. So there's all that. that said, I really just wanted to share my enthusiasm about these stupid trays because it's so cool that these worked out, and I have a ton of these. I don't have to do a thing technically. I just put the guys in them and go. So I mean, how amazing is that? Life can't get any better. Look how good these guys look. I'll bring you down one more time just to gloat and rub salt in the wound and all that. I mean, look at that. How awesome is that? And this was my summer, remember? So this is just the British infantry, but not to sound like a broken record, I spent an entire summer, more or less, painting 28 millimeter. We all know full well 28 millimeter Napoleonic stuff, and this is the end result. This is the creme de la creme of that effort that went into all that what 3+ months of doing that, and I'm glad I did it. In fact, I painted 4 more figures today just so I could have one more command stand. I don't remember who it is, and complete, because I'm using 20 figures now instead of 24, which also gives me just maybe 1 or 2 more units. But yeah, happy things are falling in place. I've got the only problem I have, and it's not a problem, is my options, and sometimes I get overwhelmed because there's so many options. I've got all these board games. I've got this Civil War epic scale stuff. I still have the Risk figures, tons and tons and tons of those for Napoleonic battles. Now I've got the 28 mil stuff going on, and again, it's a good problem to have, but I almost get paralysis sometimes trying to decide what to do and sticking with it, because when I get something on the table, it's like, oh man, I get an idea, and it's like I should try that with this stuff, so then I want to pull all that off and then put this stuff on the table. So like with the trays now, right, I'm getting inspired with that, so I want to throw the 28 millimeter stuff back on the table. I've also got one last thing I just remembered running around the back of my head. I think I'm going to need to get a bunch of baking soda, baking powder. What's the white powder stuff? Anyway, I need a bunch of that. I think I'm going to do a Stalingrad-esque factories winter fight at some point. I've got all these factory, ruins, buildings in boxes, and they're just sitting there, and I'd love to do something with them. And I think if I put those out on a table and dump some baking powder on them and put them in the oven, they'd make for good eating. That would look cool as far as a game to run. Because remember, I go back, I don't know how many videos, but I've got just a boatload of Flames of War stuff. And it kind of gripes me that it just sits in boxes and it never gets seen. I understand people probably burn out on Flames of War, don't want to see it. There's 10,000 videos. It's had its heyday, you could argue. But personally, I haven't done anything at all, I think, on this channel with that. And it's just a shame because I have so much of it. So I see some of that at some point. So gaming is good, life is good. I'm so glad I busted my butt and painted these guys. You can always tell yourself, do more, do more, do more. But I mean, I'm happy with what I've done. I'm happy with where I'm at. It's great. So life is good. I don't know. All right, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Maybe, if not tonight, tomorrow, we'll come back to the table and work on some more of that Wilson's Creek. Or we may see something completely different. You never know. I think I'm going to go take a bike ride because it's beautiful out. The weather here is fantastic. It's like upper 70s. It's my favorite time of year in New Orleans. It's not humid. It's not hot. It's not cold. Yes, it gets cold here. Not for long, but for about a month and a half or so, it gets cold here. Weather's beautiful out. So I'm going to take advantage of that and just ride this wave I'm on. All right, guys. Later.